Welcome all to the reading of Lord MEHER reading group. We are on page 1762, 1936. Baba kept Adi Jr., Shanji, and Kalingad in Nasik to assist the Westerners, along with Rustam, Frani, and Ramju. Footnote. 3 of Rustam and Frani's children, Meru, Nagu, and Bayram, were also living in Nasik at the time. The 2 older boys, Melu and Falu, were away at boarding school. End of footnote. At first, charge of the ashram was in Adi Sr.'s hands. Afterward, Narina was to take charge of the conduct and accounts beginning 15 January. Above all, Baba wished the small, diverse group of strong individualists and divergent personalities and nationalities to live together in harmony. He stressed this during his visit on 31 December. I have left things in Narina's charge regarding food and general management. To have complete harmony among you all, 4 points should be kept in mind. First, there should be complete cooperation between you all and Narina. Second, in some manners, Narina should give way. In some, you should give way. You all have come here to learn spiritual truth, leaving all. So you should put up with small discomforts and inconveniences. By this, I do not mean that you should overlook your real needs and necessities. We are going to give the world the message of love and brotherhood through Garrett's magazine. And if in our home we have conflicts and disharmonies over trivial matters, our message would be farcical and hypocritical. Third, the thorns to which I previously referred will be in many forms. If you take them too seriously or give them too much importance, they will naturally cause unnecessary suffering. But if you take these thorns lightly and do not attach undue importance to them, even these thorns will be like flowers. Fourth, if any of you here have the impression that Narina tries to run things her own way just because she is in charge, it is a grave, unjust misconception and should immediately be removed from your minds. I know whatever Narina does is only out of her deep love and feeling for me, to economize and save us as much as possible for my work. On the other hand, Narina seems to have the notion that some do not like it that she is in charge, although I know it is quite the contrary. They all like Narina to manage things as she does. These misunderstandings create unnecessary situation and disharmony and upset things. So the sooner you all clear them up, the better. You should never forget that your aim is spiritual. Otherwise, the retreat would be like a rest home or a hotel. If you have come for me, you should also suffer for me. In the event any of you are feeling indisposed, you should report at once to Narina, and she should give it her immediate attention and either utilize Garrett's stock of medicines or send for a doctor if it is anything serious. Narina should give me a detailed health report when I come every week. In the afternoon, from 3 to 5 o'clock, Baba took them on a tour of the city of Nasik, showing them the Gangapur River, and other sites. By the river, Baba sat down on a rock near the waterfall, and the Westerners quietly and respectfully sat around him. The Deshmukhs had come to Nasik and also had a meeting with Baba that day. Indumati asked Baba, "Why do I not feel inwardly convinced about God, truth, and spirituality? Although I am fond of reading about these subjects and am intellectually satisfied." Baba replied, "It needs actual experience, without which you will never feel convinced inwardly." The next day, Friday, 1 January 1937, Baba spoke to the Westerners again about living together harmoniously. Love for a perfect master, however deep or devotional it may be, does not necessarily affect the original nature of a person, because despite apparent superficial changes, the individual nature remains the same up to the seventh plane. On the seventh plane, there is no individual mind, therefore, no individual nature. This nature is so powerful that it continually tries to assert itself, and being inherently beyond one's control, even influences the expression of pure love by often assuming irritating and embarrassing forms. So, in order to keep the love of my disciples from me unalloyed, I have to humor less noble qualities of human nature, such as jealousy, pride, anger, etc. Otherwise, there is always the danger of these qualities gaining supremacy over love and changing it into a feeling of opposition, thus creating hindrances in my work. For instance, K.J. Dastor and Devi. There were differences and strife among the Westerners almost daily during the Nasik period. But this discord had its purpose, as age explained. The avatar comes to sweep the world clean, to cleanse the human mind and purify the heart. Through his circle members, Baba was sweeping the world, collecting the refuse at one place, so to speak, so that it could be disposed of easily. His broom touched their innermost beings, and the dust of their egos surfaced. That was why weaknesses were so glaringly visible at this time among the Westerners, giving rise to heated quarrels. It was Baba's work stirring things up. Their quarrels acted as a medium to bring the uncleanliness of the heart to the surface, making visible the defects of all. Baba used the strife as a constructive means of wiping away the inherent weaknesses in each individual. Such struggles and dissensions clean out the mind and are quite different in nature from worldly dissensions, which have as their basis selfishness and the ego's pride. The discords in the company of the master are unconsciously dependent on love and are liberating, for they root out all impurities. One morning, when Baba was on an inspection tour, he came to Malcolm Schloss's room and inquired how he was doing. "Very bad," Malcolm replied. "I am full of pride. I get impatient and irritable over unimportant things. What can I do about it?" Baba just looked at him. That moment was profound. As Malcolm later recalled, I shall never forget the look that Baba gave me. If he had spoken, he could not have said more clearly, well, now at last we can get to work. Baba spelled out, in some ways you are very advanced. In others, you are very lacking. Pride is your one shortcoming. My one shortcoming, Malcolm exclaimed. What of my impatience, my irritability? Those are the results of pride. When the pride goes, they will go. What can I do to make it go? Of yourself, you cannot make it go, but I shall do it for you. Nevertheless, you must try. You must make the effort. What shall I do? Don't let little things disturb you. Rise above them. Be big. Be generous. Leave the rest to me. And don't be concerned about it. I will do it. I have to for the sake of the work. Baba then embraced Malcolm. The last of the Westerners to come to India, Ruano Bogislav, arrived in Bombay on 2 January 1937 via Colombo aboard the Strathard. She was met by Chanji, who brought her to Nasik the same day by train. There were now 15 Westerners staying together in the ashram. On Tuesday, 5 January, Baba took the Westerners to Rahuri. All rose early at 4 a.m. and after breakfast left Nasik at 6 o'clock. Next reader. Does anyone want to read next?
I can go ahead, Eva.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Arriving at Rahuri, the group met the Mandali, Gani, Vishnu, Pendu, Padre, Rayosab, Baidul, and Nilu. After they toured the ashram and saw the mad and musts, Baba discoursed about selfless service. As an object lesson to others to render service to humanity, I myself serve others. In the ashram school at Meherabad, I wanted my Brahmin devotees to serve the untouchables. For that purpose, I personally served the untouchable boys, bathing them and washing their clothes. When I asked my Brahmin devotees to assist me, they did, for they loved me. In true service, there must be no lingering idea that one is free to yield service or refuse it. One must feel that one is not master of one's own body, but that one's body is the Guru's and exists merely to render him service. Leaving Rahuri, they drove on to Meherabad, arriving at 11 o'clock. Baba showed them the men's quarters at Lower Meherabad, and then took the Western women up the hill to see Mehera and the other women, Mandali, Naja, Mani, Orshad, Sunamasi, Gulmai, Walu or Balu, and Kaikubai. Memo was also there, and Baba took them to meet her at the family quarters where Daulat Mai, Mehera's mother, and her sister, Franny Masi, Padre's mother, were living. Baba noted that the Western group had not eaten much on their visit to Meherabad and commented, I intend to start giving the food myself, as I used to do. This is an old custom of mine which I have stopped for the last 4 years. The food is brought to me, then each of you bring your plate, and I give it. Jesus did this. When they returned to Nasik, Baba asked each how they had liked Meherabad. They all said very much. Baba asked Rano's opinion of the place, and she answered frankly, It's lovely, Baba, but not for me. Baba just smiled. The idea of living a secluded life with a bunch of women on a remote hill did not appeal to Rano. She had not the least idea that she would be the only one from this original group who would be spending the rest of her life with Baba in India. On Friday, 8 January 1937, Baba began fasting on only 2 cups of milk and 2 cups of tea daily, and stated that he would continue to do so for 40 days until his birthday on the 18th of February. Each of the Westerners was to participate in the fast turn by turn, each day from the 8th in the following order: Jean, Delia, Margaret, Garrett, Nadine, Kitty, Ronald, Tom, Elizabeth, Nani, Malcolm, Mary, Will, Ruano, Norina, and on the 23rd, Franny was to fast. From 24 January, the men and women Mandali at Mehrabad as a group would alternately fast along with Baba. Baba returned to Nasik on 9 January and stayed for 4 days. On the 11th, he took the group to the Pandulina Caves, about 5 miles away. They left Nasik in the morning at 6 o'clock. Besides the 15 Westerners, Baba was accompanied by 4 others. He wore a wine red scarf over his head and another scarf of ochre around his forehead. Franny put a garland of roses around Baba just before they drove off. At the Pandulina Caves, Baba took them each to each of the 22 caves. And in some, he made a few remarks about the rishis, sages, and yogis who had stayed there. Baba particularly liked cave number 8 and sat in it with Norina, Delia, and Elizabeth, remarking, "I may come here and stay sometime for my universal work." Bob, you want to do the footnote? Photographs of Baba and the group were taken by Ronald. That's a footnote. Baba narrated the story of Krishna and the Pandava brothers and then led the way back down. Walking up to the caves in the morning, Baba had kept pace with the slowest of the group. Now, while coming down, he led the way and before entering the car, waited at the bottom until all were safely down. Back at the retreat, Baba gathered the Westerners and commented about the trip. "You all know what an excellent climber I am. You have seen me in Italy, in China. Herbert challenged me to climb a certain place and see who got there first. I did and won. Yet today you observe me climbing up slowly so as to keep pace with the others who could not climb so well. Outsiders who did not know might think that Baba was a slow climber. Although I am spiritually first, I held back to give those not so spiritually advanced a helping hand. That is why I am so often misunderstood in my human aspect. Was the climb a strain for you all? Because next time we have to climb up to the temples, which are higher than the caves." On another occasion, Baba did take the Westerners to the temples. On that outing, he pointed to a temple and remarked, "True sanctity does not lie in the dead walls of brick and stone, or even in the waters of the sacred rivers, but in the living beings who fill the environment with the fire of their devotion, love, and worship, and in the great spiritual forces released by the masters during their stay here." Baba wished the group to begin visiting Mehrabad every Friday. In Nasik, on 11th January 1937, he asked the Western women, "I want you all to tell me honestly whether it will be a strain for you to come to Mehrabad one day a week. You must leave here at 5 a.m. Will that suit you?" All agreed to go. On the 13th, Jean was severely burned when a pot of boiling water overturned on her lap. She and Malcolm were then left behind at Nasik when the others went to Mehrabad 2 days later on the 15th. The group left Nasik at 5 in the morning, arrived in Rahuri at 8, and at 10 o'clock left with Baba for Mehrabad, where they stayed until 4 in the afternoon. Their visits to Mehrabad were especially happy times when the gopis of the east and those of the west surrounded their lord. Jean, however, was feeling depressed. On 18 January, Baba came to see her privately. He reassured her that though the burn was painful, its results would be beneficial. Unknown to her, Baba had a private meeting with Malcolm and stated, I must tell you in confidence that Jean will die. Tell no one what I have told you, not even Jean. I only want you to be prepared. Malcolm took it calmly and thanked Baba for telling him. A few days later, however, Baba informed him that instead of dying, Jean would suffer a complete collapse. During this period, Baba began observing the following weekly schedule. Monday, 8 a.m., Rahuri to Nasik. Tuesday, 10 a.m., Nasik to Rahuri. Wednesday, 8 a.m., Rahuri to Mehrabad and return to Rahuri. Thursday at Rahuri, the whole day. Friday, go with the Westerners to Mehrabad and return to Rahuri. Saturday at Rahuri. Sunday, Western men come to Rahuri to be with Baba. Sometimes Baba would arrive in Nasik very early in the morning before the Westerners were awake, usually driven there by either Adi Senior or Sarosh. Someone would call out, Baba is here, Baba is here, and all would scramble out of bed and into their clothes and wait for Baba to come to the Sarzat building. After greeting each one, Baba would gather with them for breakfast in the dining room of the main bungalow, where Baba had his own room. Everyone ate together at a big table, and Baba sat at one end when he was there. Their meals were served by a turbaned butler, but at times Baba would serve the food himself. Afterwards, they would sit around Baba in the living room. Sometimes he would ask them to read out their dreams, which they had been told to record. One morning, Narina awakened to find Baba outside her window. Tell me your dream, he asked. Narina hesitated, embarrassed because it had been a vivid sexual dream. At last she did. Baba indicated to her not to worry about it and remarked, even on the sixth plane, one still has lust. Occasionally, Baba held private 15-minute interviews with each person. Other times, Baba would give a discourse or explanation arising from someone's questions. Sometimes he would settle disputes or even create them. In the afternoon, after resting, Baba would play ping pong on the main veranda. One day, Baba was observed in the living room, lying on the couch, absorbed in his inner work. Afterward, he rose slowly and went to the ping pong table and began playing the game with one of the group, as if to bring himself down from that superconscious state. Usually, after dinner, Baba would again discourse to the group, sitting outside in the garden, or go on a walk before retiring for bed at 9. Whenever Baba would spend the night in Nasik, in the morning he would sit in an armchair, and Delia and Margaret would sometimes brush his hair as he listened to the group recount their dreams. Margaret Crass once recollected, a few of the disciples in Nasik had a strong belief that their dreams indicated some special spiritual progress and were most anxious to recount them to anyone who would listen. Baba lovingly agreed to listen to these dreams and discuss them and arranged for everyone to meet each morning at 5:30 in the sitting room. Delia and I, who confessed to having no dreams of any kind that we remembered, were told that instead of entering the discussion, we were to brush Baba's hair and massage his scalp. For us, this was wonderful. What were dreams compared with the pleasure of brushing Baba's beautiful hair and with our fingertips massaging his scalp? His head was in amazing shape. Even now, my hands can remember how it was formed. In the middle of January, Baba outlined duties for each of the Westerners staying at Nasik. Everyone was to arise at 6:30 a.m., meditate for an hour, and together take an hour lesson in learning Urdu from Ramju. No one, not even the older ones, such as Nani or Ruano, was allowed to rest in the afternoons. Their individual duties were as follows. Delia, 1 hour teaching drama and art, 1 hour dancing with Margaret, 2 hours gardening. Elizabeth, helping Narina with the ashram accounts, driving members of the group to the bazaar or elsewhere, such as Rahuri or Mehrabad, whenever needed. Looking after the dogs, Canute and Kippy. Garrett, 3 hours writing for the magazine from the points given by Baba. Jean, secretary to Garrett and Malcolm in the magazine work, 2 hours writing spiritual poetry and prose, 1 hour weaving. Kitty, 1 hour teaching piano to Rustam's daughter Meru. 2 hours working with Margaret and setting music to her dances for the film. 1 hour typing Baba's work, writing a daily diary to be shown to Baba when he comes to Nasik. Malcolm, 3 hours preparing lectures to be delivered when asked by Baba. Margaret, 1 hour teaching dance to Rano and Delia, 2 hours choreographing dances for the film project, helping Delia with the gardening whenever time is available. Mary, weaving, spinning, sewing clothes for destitutes, also painting and designing. Nadine, translating Baba's life and messages into Russian, helping Narina, Ruano, and Mary as and when required. Nani, general typing and translating of Kitty's shorthand notes of Baba's discourses and explanations. 1 hour writing is instructed by Baba, helping everyone as and when she likes and can manage. Narina, supervision of the household affairs of the Western group, keep accounts of the Nasik side of the trust. Rano, drawing and painting of spiritual themes as instructed by Baba. 1 hour dancing with Margaret. Ruano, supervising and conducting the departments of the bazaar of marketing, cooking and serving meals and doing laundry for the whole group under Narina, looking after the birds brought from Marseille, which had been brought from Mehrabad and handed over to her care. Tom, helping everyone in manual labor whenever and wherever needed. Will, 3 hours attending to correspondence with European devotees to keep them in direct contact with all in India. The magazine, which Baba intended Garrett Fort and Malcolm Schloss to start, was to be named Avatar. Referring to it, Baba remarked, "When the magazine is started, it must not stop and it must be very good. Garrett and Malcolm are to work on it together. I want it to continue being published for 5 years." When Baba would visit Nasik once a week, he would ask Margaret to show him the dances she had been choreographing. Margaret commented later that he would always point out errors and suggest corrections that only an artist perfect in his art would know, which thus shows Baba's perfection in all things. Rana was painting under Baba's direction, and he was also very particular about overseeing her work. He would give her many points and figures to be incorporated into what was to become the 10 Circles painting, and she would make sketches and show them to Baba for his approval. Once during this period, Rano had a wonderful experience. She awoke one morning and saw Baba's face in a vision of dazzling light. The next day, when she was alone with Baba, he turned to her and asked, "What were you dreaming of last night?" She described what she had seen. Rano smoked Lucky Strike and Chesterfield cigarettes when she came to Nasik, but she was careful never to smoke in Baba's presence. One day, Baba came along just as she was finishing a cigarette. She quickly put it out and said, "Baba, this was my last cigarette." Baba looked very pleased and gave her an embrace. Rano surprised herself when she made this remark, since Baba had not asked her to quit, and other disciples such as Padri, Adi Sr., and Pendu smoked. The next day, Garrett offered Rano some Chesterfields. Rano groaned, "I've given my word to Baba to quit smoking. What kind of disciple would I be if I couldn't do this much? Why couldn't you have come along a day earlier?" Rano later said she never missed smoking except when she was painting or taking a break to reflect on her work. Baba would ask each individual about their morning meditation and encourage them to take it seriously. On Sunday, 17 January 1937, he remarked, I want you to be gay, lighthearted, and humorous, but I also want you to be serious about certain points, especially about meditation. Constant prayer and selfless service are both vital in turning the mind away from worldly things and directing it towards spirituality. Each person would meditate alone in his or her room upon arising in the morning. Once Baba surprised Rano by coming into the room as she was meditating. He caught her dozing and instructed her to keep a photograph of him in front of her and concentrate on it. During the meditation hour, Baba directed that there must be absolute quiet in the compound. External silence helps the inner silence, he said, and only in internal silence is Baba found, in profound inner silence. Baba gave each individual instructions in regard to meditation. He directed Malcolm not to tell anyone but him what he saw or heard during meditation. Malcolm asked if he should interpret his meditation to write down anything which came to him while meditating. No, Baba replied. What you see, once you begin seeing in this way, you will never forget. You will know what you are and where you are going. You will be like a rock. You will know where you stand. On 18 January, Garrett presented Baba with his introductory editorial for the magazine. Baba liked it so much he read it twice and commented that he liked not only the style, but the gradual way in which Garrett had introduced Baba's name and spiritual status. That day, Baba told the group, it is so easy for you to love those whom you already love, but to love those whom you hate, that is something. By loving, I mean not merely being kind. Does any one of you think it is possible to love those whom you don't like? It will happen. The topic turned to sleep, and Elizabeth asked Baba, where do we go when we go to sleep? Everywhere, he replied. You are always everywhere. Even now, though fully conscious, you are not conscious that you are everywhere, because the mind always has the natural tendency of losing its identity. Is that clear? Not so sure. Elizabeth asked, then what makes us wake up? Impressions. They prick you and get you up. They cry out, spend us. The mind always wants to go. So in sleep, you always go back. And when you wake up, you feel fresh. But again, after waking, the mind wants to lose its identity. What are dreams? She asked. Dreams are subconscious experiences, which are always linked with your gross experiences of the past. Sometimes in your dreams, you see persons you never saw in this life. This link is from the past. It is all based on illusion and imagination. Elizabeth said, and how was it that when I was 12 years old, I dreamt of you 3 different times? And when I first met you, I recognized you as the one I had known in the dream. That was not an illusion. What I mean, replied Baba, is everything except your being infinite is illusion. I am very ancient, very, very old, and always young. Narita then asked, what is imagination? Imagination is what you want to be and are not, Baba replied. At one point, Baba translated a few couplets of the perfect Master Kabir. Quote, one cannot start running at full speed. One must gather momentum and gradually increase the speed. If one is to be stained with a spiritual color, one must be stained gradually. The color takes time to penetrate for it to become deep and rich. It must be applied gradually. The mind, which has been sleeping, the sleep of ignorance for ages, can only gradually be awakened to knowledge with a capital K. At the beginning of January 1937, Baba had begun a 40-day fast. By 22 January, he made some changes in his schedule. He now began taking food and liquids only between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. daily. For the remaining part of the day until 10 a.m. the following day, he would observe a stricter fast, not even taking water. He had directed that one member of the Western group fast with him in the same manner each day, and they too ultimately began observing the fast in the following way: 10 a.m. lunch, 12 noon orange juice, 1 p.m. tea, toast, and honey, 2 p.m. water. The Westerners, with Adi Sr. and Chanji, left Nasik early in the morning on Saturday, 23 January, for their third visit to Mehrabad. Baba was waiting for them there. During their visit, Baba told them, "Pure love is the beginning and ending of everything. When only one desire remains, love manifests in full glory, because only in the divine beloved is love infinite purity. When lover and the beloved are one, that is the end and the beginning." The group had come in 3 cars. Garrett drove one of the cars, and Adi Sr. and Elizabeth the other 2. At the end of the visit, Baba instructed them to stay together for the return trip to Nasik, and specifically directed that Garrett drive the same route. But on the way back, Garrett nevertheless took a different route, saying Padre had recommended it, and lost his way after some distance. When he ran out of gas, he became frightened. It was a deserted road, and he had no idea how to get back to Nasik. It was getting dark, and he called on Baba from the bottom of his heart. Then a car came from the opposite direction. The driver supplied him with some gasoline and told him how to get back onto the main road. He returned to the retreat late at night and realized what happens if one goes against the master's wish. The others were worried and were about to send an ambulance to look for them. And we have a nice photo of the group from January 23rd, 1937. Bob arrived in Nasik on Friday, 29 January 1937 at 8 p.m. The next afternoon, he held a meeting at which he stated he wished to discuss a matter of great importance. Take all that I say seriously. It is vital. I have not yet started to work on you. I wanted to see how everything went on here during the first month. Now, today, certain things will have to be decided. Be honest in all your replies. During the past month that you have been living here together, there has not been the harmony among you that I had hoped to see. As things stand at present, I cannot carry out the work I intend doing. Either you must live harmoniously together and help me in my work, or the ashram must be disbanded and I will have to do my work alone. Okay, I've got to go get my cord to charge this computer, and I'll pass the reading on now.
I can pick up.
Great, thank you.
Where do we start from?
The top, are you all prepared?
Yeah. Are you all prepared? Oh, that's the line too. Okay. Are you all prepared to live here for 5 years harmoniously? I would definitely prefer you to stay and help me. But if you really think you cannot stay or that there cannot be real harmony, then it had better be goodbye. I have not yet started the work. The thorns are waiting to prick you. I am talking plainly to you, so don't answer without thinking. Do not let sentiment and temporary enthusiasm sway you. Once agreed and spoken, your promise must be adhered to. If you, Margaret, Delia, or Kitty, receive cables calling you home because of some family problems, you are not to go. Maya may make trouble. You should be on your guard and remember, whatever happens, do not go. I am sure none of you will go, but I am warning you. There are bound to be differences, but one or the other of you must give in. One of you must give in. That means all of you who stay must be prepared to give in. I do not mind crisis. I do not mind chaos, but I do mind disharmony. At present, I have to spend my time patching up things, drawing both persons together on common ground, instead of spending it for the work and pushing you forward. I tolerate everything, so you must be the same. Be tolerant with everyone. And when you feel like rising up in a fury and having an argument with your adversary, say, I am here for Baba, and Baba wants, above all else, harmony. Don't you think I am right in asking these questions? All said yes, and Baba continued, you will feel excited, jealous, proud at times. All of these qualities are there. What I say is, give in spite of them. It is easier to go through fire than to give in. It is more difficult task than creating the creation. To turn a selfish person into an unselfish one. To turn stubbornness into flexibility. What you answer is a sacred promise to me. Baba asked each person one by one to give his or her answer. Each person said they were prepared and would do their best to live harmoniously together and to stay in India for 5 years or longer. This made Baba very happy. On Sunday, 31st January 1937, Baba took the Westerners to a Hindi movie, Janmabhoomi, at the Circle Cinema at 10 a.m., a drama about the class struggle between Indian villagers and wealthy landowners. Later that day, Garrett showed Baba a story he had written as a possible film script. Baba liked it and asked him to continue working on it along with writing for the magazine. Baba then left Nasik at 3 that afternoon for Rahuri, driven by Adi Senior. On 1st February, the opening ceremony of the MEHER free dispensary was performed in Rahuri at 8 o'clock that morning. Dr. Neelu was to be in charge of it with Jalbai as his assistant. Gani read out a message from a highly successful person who once said, I succeed because I was always 15 minutes early to begin my work. The irony of Gani quoting these words was not lost on his fellow Mandali. Regarding the medical facility, Baba commented, after a month or two, people will flock to our dispensary and many, especially the poor, will be benefited. The dispensary began operating the next day. As Baba predicted, word spread fast of the free medical care being given in the quiet rural area. Hundreds of sick people came each day, many from remote areas. Neelu and Jalbai were busy from dawn to dusk attending to the sick, many of whom have never seen a doctor before. Another doctor named Vidvans was later hired to work in a dispensary. As the caseloads increased, along with a compounder, pharmacist named Sudrik. During this period, Dake continued to manage the office affairs at Rahuri and kept a diary of its activities. There's a picture of Dr. Neelu, dated 1937 at Rahuri Dispensary. Baba was expected in Nasik on 4th February, but the 3rd was to be celebrated as Norina's birthday. So, to give her a surprise, Baba arrived in the evening of the 3rd from Rahuri. Baba, however, was exhausted, and the senior told the group to finish dinner and Baba would meet them after he had rested. Baba went to the living room and laid still on the sofa, appearing to be suffering greatly, absorbed in some inner work. The Vaishnavas came in and sat around him. Baba requested some cold water to wash his face, afterwards spelled out. Sometimes I had to take the whole burden on my shoulders. I was on the point of paralysis in the car while coming here, and I could hardly move my arms. I did not even convey this to Adi, who was driving. I'm infinite bliss and infinite suffering. It's all me, all one. Free here, pointing to himself, and bound there, pointing to the group. All knowing here and ignorant there. None but one loves me. Guess who? Baba loves Baba through everybody. Baba then narrated a past incident of his terrible suffering in Mehrabad when, due to world conditions at that time, he had what appeared to be a severe heart attack. Physically, he may have been trembling, shaking, and breaking out in perspiration, but the cause was really his inner working. One of the Westerners asked how he could withstand such suffering. I have to withstand it all, Baba replied. Even if the whole world turns against me, it is my work. I must endure it. Norina's birthday cake with candles was brought in. Baba cut the cake and handed a piece to each. He then discussed matters with the group, giving Garrett instructions to travel in India. Baba again alluded to the thorns in his work, stating, "None of these things can happen. It must not rain on the birthday celebrations of February 17th or 18th. I must not fall ill on either of those days, and none of my dearest ones must pass away before the end of March. If none of these things happen, then we can face the big thorn. And after facing it, the atmosphere will become wonderfully spiritual." Baba did not explain what the big thorn would be. After one night in Nasik, he left for Rahuri the following afternoon. One small thorn seemed to be the timing of Baba's birthday. When Baba had returned from the West, he especially chose the 17th and 18th for the celebration, although his actual birthday that year fell on the 15th according to Parsi calendar. Subsequently, the government declared the 17th of February as a date for a nationwide vote on a new constitution. Baba had specified that he wanted as many persons as possible to attend his birthday program, stating, "I wish to touch the feet of thousands on my birthday for reasons of my own. This year, my birthday had a great importance and significance. I want to touch the feet and give my prasad not only to thousands of the poor and destitute, but I want all my devotees and others, as many as can be gathered and are able to come, to be near me on the occasion for the special benefit all will receive at that time." Baba said that he wanted about 20,000% and asked if it could be accomplished. Rustum undertook overall responsibility and others such as Ramju, Vishnu, Adi Senior, and Chanji were told to write to all devotees, their friends, and others, inviting them to be present for the occasion. But because of the vote for the new constitution, many perhaps would be too busy to take advantage of the opportunity Baba was presenting. As Chanji noted, the elections on the 17th is a great obstacle. So many who wanted to come could not. It was a great struggle between God and Maya. From 7th Sunday, February 1937, Baba gave up solid food and began fasting for the last 10 days of his 40-day fast on only water. Admiring the work of those attending to the mad and muss, Dake noted in his diary that day, Aga, Baidul, and Pleader are certainly to be congratulated for their patience and strength of mind when they attend the muss 24 hours. Some mad, becoming rowdy, some abusive, some unmanageable, some ever troubling like a stone in a shoe, like Muhammad, and some ever bubbling. All this they attend with a smile and with a zeal of a real discipline, of a real sadguru. About the dispensary, Baba commented that those who were coming for treatment were given the mandali an opportunity to serve them, and hence the patients were the benefactors, not the mandali. He urged the doctor and compounder to treat all the patients kindly and equally, no matter their social status. Baba went to Nasik on the 9th, gathering the group. He explained some spiritual points, starting with agents. Kutub in Sufism means center. The center controls the whole universe through his agents. Meetings are held, but these meetings cannot be seen with the physical eye. The agents who control the gross only are called Abdals. They are capable of changing the bodies. The Urdu word Badal means change. Abdal, therefore, is one who can change. Nadina's Baba, what it is like for you to feel yourself to be God? Baba replied, heaven and hell, God and man, all are here. You are now God plus Nadia. When Nadia disappears, God remains. So Nadia must go. Let Nadia go, and then God remains. Nadia has to make Nadia go. If you merge in me, Nadia goes. The easiest way for Nadia to go is to forget herself as Nadia. How? Think less of Nadia by thinking more of Baba. When Nadia merges in Baba, Nadia is finished. Baba remains. But if you go on thinking how to do it and how to merge, then this thought keeps you back. Don't think of how and when. Think of Baba. But better even than this and safer too is to merge in my orders, to do as I say, that is, all should obey instantly. One of the group asked, what if we want to obey but for some reason are not able to do so physically or mentally? If you want to obey, then it is not disobedience. If, for instance, I say fly and you cannot, it is not disobedience, but you must try to fly. Do not say I cannot fly, but just try. In one sense, it is easy to obey, but to do it with heart and soul is difficult. For example, if I say, Adi Senior, kill your father, he will kill him. That is easy. He won't be happy to do it, but he will. Complete obedience, complete blind obedience is very, very rare. I tell Malcolm, kill Jean. If he has full faith, he will do it, but not willingly. Hence, there is a difference. Complete blind obedience is the outcome of complete faith. At one point, Baba again warned that continually thinking of how to get rid of one ego and how to merge it in the infinite is a hindrance on the path rather than a help. Continuing, Baba emphasized obedience. You will always find very many who do not obey. They are just devoted. They worship but do not obey. Is this clear? Obedience is more important than devotion, even if it is done unwilling. It counts for a great deal because afterward, in the process, duality vanishes and responsibility falls upon one person, the master, the one you obey. If he tells you, get up, you must. If he calls you, you must go. Love is even higher than obedience. In real love, not ordinary love. Love obedience, and devotion are inherent. Such love gives life, body, soul, all to the beloved. This love is higher than both obedience and devotion. The next step to this love is union. Therefore, love, give more love, and more love. Big hearts always give and give in. Small hearts take and take in. One day, I will explain more about love to you all. Love is not understood properly. Every emotional act cannot be counted as proceeding from love. The true sign of love is to give everything, to give and give. One day I will explain. A mother loves a child, but this is not pure love. It is love plus self satisfaction. In real love, there is no desire for satisfaction, only for satisfying. Nowadays, even lust is taken for love. The subtle difference is missed. There is a very subtle difference between love and lust, but it is quite clear. There are two different things. You love rice and curry. This is lust. You love a cigar. Lust again. You love curry and eat it, but do not give anything by the act. You finish the beloved. Later that afternoon of 9th February, Baba spoke about hypocrisy and illusion. He asked the Westerners, what is self-delusion? We say that so and so is self-deluded. What is meant by that? Someone answered, a person who imagines himself what he is not. To which Baba replied, but his imagination is so strong. The self-deluded man does not doubt what he thinks. Hello? Yeah.
Hi there, I think you froze.
Yeah. Can somebody continue? I just had to, I think, attend a call urgently. Can you continue for me, or should I think I
Sure.
just got rid of the call.
Yeah, sure, Mayor. Thank you. Hey, Eugene, would you like to read? There you go.
Someone answered, a person who imagines himself what he is not, to which Baba replied, but this imagination is so strong that the self-deluded man does not doubt he is what he thinks himself to be. He feels he really is this or that person. This delusion is very positive, but it is, after all, delusion. And although these men are not hypocritical, they are dangerous, but not so seriously. In one sense, all are mad, deluded persons. Deluded persons are always mad. For instance, you think you are the body. You are body mad, aren't you? Addressing one person in the group, Baba pointed out with a teasing smile, you are mad, but God mad. Continuing, he stated, self-delusion is unfortunate, but hypocrisy is inexcusable. The self-deluded doesn't know, but thinks that he knows. The hypocrite knows that he does not know, but pretends that he does. Self has no sex, but when self treats itself as the body, the illusion of sex appears, and therefore duality. The self in each of us is sexless, but the self in a person thinks itself as a woman, and in another thinks itself as man. This is delusion, a very subtle difference. It all comes from thinking of ourselves as the body. Giving a simile, Baba said, the soul is to the body as the bald man is to his wig. The bald man puts on his toupee when he goes to work in the morning. When he comes home and goes to sleep at night, he takes it off. In conclusion, you must learn to use the body when you need it for work and to free yourself when you no longer need it. February 10th was Delia's birthday. It had become a permitted tradition that the Westerners were allowed ice cream on anyone's birthday. They were about to enjoy this treat when Baba called Delia and Margaret to his room. Delia expected a birthday kiss or embrace, but when they went to Baba, they saw he looked upset. He scolded them. It pains me to hear that you two think that I am arranging my birthday celebrations on the 17th and 18th only to impress the Westerners. Do you think I need to impress anyone? At least this much you should have realized by now. Baba had been informed that Delia had remarked to one of the Bondali about Baba wishing to impress Countess Tolstoy. Seeing Baba's disappointment with them, both began crying. After a while, he forgave them and led them into the dining room to celebrate Delia's birthday. It was one birthday she was never to forget. Later that day, Baba explained to the Westerners about the upcoming birthday. Until a few years ago, my birthdays used to be celebrated on the same scale as it has been planned to celebrate it this year. Then I stopped these grand celebrations. I allowed fewer and fewer people to meet me, and I would not let anyone take my darshan by laying their head on my feet. During my latter visits to the West, I also allowed few interviews. You must have noticed that I often seemed displeased when you had arranged for many people to meet me. The reason for this apparent avoiding of people is that I will draw the whole world to me when the time is right and when I want. This year, after a lapse of many years, it has been arranged to have my birthday celebrated again on a large scale, because it would give you the opportunity of meeting many of my Eastern devotees. Also, I want to distribute grain and cloth to about 10,000 people and touch their feet with my hand while doing it. But the working of Maya often assumes ironic forms. The 17th and 18th of this month are election days for the new constitution. People throughout India will go to the polls to vote. Thus, half of the people who otherwise would have come might be unable to do so, although Rustam and others expect more than 10,000. Plans to celebrate Baba's birthday on a tremendous scale were underway, and Baba, despite being on a fast, was as active as ever, supervising many things during his visits to Meherabad, Nasik, and Rahuri. I think it's noon, Marvin and Eva.
Yes, that's correct. It is. Thank you for reading.
My pleasure. Thank you, Baba.
Thank you, Baba.
Yeah, I think it's a good time to stop. Very good. Okay, so we're going to start next week on page 17. Okay, stop the recording, please.
Page 1781.
Okay. Well, that was a good day's reading today.
We made it.
Ah,
And I
thanks.
got my telehealth visit done pretty quick with the doc.
Good. That was important.
Oh, yeah.
And mine also, because there is one parking issue I had faced, and the person called me at this time to tell that my car got towed and they are at fault and they are agreeing their fault. He's very hard to catch hold of, and he called me and he finalized that they will pay me back that money.
Wow. Well, that was a good call
Wow.
to take.
Nice.
That was a good one to take.
Yeah, it happened on Silence Day? No. Oh yeah, on Silence Day I had to explain them. See, that was another thing. It was Silence Day. Of all the things I was trying to, tell them that I had no mistake of mine, and all the time I was thinking, Baba, what is this punishment? Because these guys keep on extending the conversation.
Good. Well, I'm
You know,
glad
I
I'm
can't.
glad you paid for it or
Yeah.
reimbursed.
Yeah, the good thing is I took screenshot of of every transaction I was doing. If I did not have the proof that that parking lot I put my car, they said I can pay it at the exit, and I parked it with that understanding. And there was a screen. There's an online link they sent me, and I took a screenshot saying I am checked in and I can pay at the end. But my car got towed, and I came. They said this is only for prepay. And I said, but you person sent me one link when I called them, and they did not say that I have to pay upfront. They did not agree at the beginning. Then when I showed them the screenshot, then they said, okay, we are at fault.
Wow. You know what, Meher? It's a good thing you took that screenshot.
Yeah.
Very, very lucky.
And I
Baba
have
lucky.
been on a trip. Baba Lucky, I've been on a trip to California, and I came back, and this happened at the airport in Chicago. And it's so interesting. So many things I can say, but I think there's Baba in my car,
Yeah.
I put a picture of Baba in my car.
Baba on your
Yeah.
screenshot for sure.
Anyway, but Eugene, thanks for picking up. So we haven't touched that birthday yet, right? I think the where we left it's still saying there is going to be the birthday, right?
Right. The lead
February
up,
7th.
the lead up to the birthday.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for all your readings, your shares. They say thank you.
So when I was frozen, you had a second call also, and in the audio, did you hear me talk to somebody or no?
No, we didn't hear.
It was frozen.
Okay. And thank
Right.
goodness I could just you guys in the middle, and I switched back to that call then.
No, it was just frozen. Well, I've got to get running. I've got to pick up my dogs at the groomer. So, Jai Baba, everyone.
Jai Bob, everyone.
Baba.
Jai
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Jai Baba.